biggest message I heard was to be quiet enough, silent, to be able to listen so I could hear spirit. So I think the most important thing in the whole world is to get to the observer where I'm silent enough that I can hear the directives, the messages.
Going back and returning to our connection with her.
I am you and you are me. It's not a theory. And may I come into my world to open my heart and mind to the truth that love and kindness is what this experiment was meant to cultivate. Let it be. And it is. Aho.
Debra Silverman, welcome back on Just Tap In. I had a very interesting way to start today's podcast because I've heard you say before that people get mad at you, that you say what nobody else wants to say. So I wanted to ask you, what are most astrologers not saying right now about this moment in human history?
Such a great question. I love that you do your research and figure out all the secrets, because I'm an 8th house, you're an 8th house, we are secret keepers, and you tell everybody secrets. So the question, astrologers everywhere are talking about the outer movement of the, you've probably had them on your podcast. The planets are all changing on the April 16th to 18th. There's 6 planets plus 7, including our friend Chiron in Aries. And it's all to say what? That's the part I get puzzled by. There's a big change happening. What does that mean? There's an invitation for a shift in the consciousness. What does that mean? So what they're not saying is there's a mystery. And the mystery's uncomfortable. What we would, if we could turn the volume down and limit the words, what we would all say simply is, wow, I never imagined I'd be alive when war came back into consciousness and AI seems to be taking us away, and our environment and our climate seems to be really, really vulnerable, and the Colorado River's running out, and there's plastic in the middle of the ocean to the tune of size of Texas. All of these things on the outer plane, coral has been diminished to a point where it's a real problem. And now the oil rates are coming up, and there's a real vulnerability about how we're going to sustain. I could go on and on. That astrologers aren't speaking straight to the negative. They tend to go so positive and talk about how there's a new world coming. And that is true. I just happen to be a realist. Like, I deal with my vulnerability because of my chart. I, like you, Mr. Cancer, I have Mars in Cancer. I have Neptune in Scorpio. I have North Node in Scorpio. I have a house, Sun in the 8th house of Scorpio. I feel for humanity so much that while I want to be spiritual and astrologer-like and do the jargon and talk about the woo and be really smart, my heart hurts. And as spiritual as I am and as psychologically savvy, 45 years working as a clinical therapist, as a psychotherapist for years and years and years, really gleaning wisdom from people's stories. I've learned a lot from listening. It doesn't diminish my ouch factor. It hurts me. So I think what they're not saying, and what gets me in trouble, to your point, is that my Saturn's in Sag, Mr. Sag rising as you are, and I speak to the unspeakable, and I say the thing that I'm scared. Not that I don't trust, because you guys, when you reach almost 70, I'm right at the very last moment of 70, you start to realize everything works out. It's just true. And I can't make that ouch factor go away. So in honesty, if I were to speak to the unspeakable, I'd say the human condition as it's presented, this is in my book. I don't believe in astrology. The whole first part of the book is, the first line of the book is, you couldn't get this right if you wanted to. It's a setup. You come down to earth to get it wrong, to get it right. You come down to earth, you cry when your mom screams when you enter, and someone's going to cry in the room when you leave. It hurts. So I don't like to leave that out. So thanks for asking, Mr. 8th house deep Cancer.
I love that we're starting right there because, those are the realism factors of our world right now. And there's so much going on. And the fact that we can speak into it and not bypass and start talking about the new earth already from the get-go, like we're still going through a transition. You were telling me before we started was that you're seeing a big wave right now and that some people are riding that wave and others are underneath it. I wanted to ask you what determines the difference between those.
That's such a great question. First, do you think that's true? That you notice there's a split between the people that are riding the waves and the ones that are underneath it? Is that your experience?
Definitely.
If you're watching this podcast and you've been around Emilio and around this whole conversation with Robert Grant and with Blue and with, there's so many names I could drop with Mateus and all these characters, there are just a million of us that seem to have signed up for this assignment to come and speak. Then as the astrologer Levine, he's such a wild man, or Astrology Hub, where they have all these astrologers all screaming the same thing. You probably had them. Have you had other astrologers on your podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
And they're all screaming, there's this big change. And yes, that is true. And then at the center of our nervous system, when you ask what we can do to keep ourselves on the side of the street that rides the wave as a surfer would do and feels the magic, it requires a lot of practice because it's not natural. We're in a very unnatural moment. And it requires awareness. I love in my work to stimulate people to realize you really matter. I do this process called 4E, which is about the 4 elements, and I'm going to be doing it in person. I do it twice a year in Boulder in September and sometimes in Hawaii in March. And I just collect a few people. There's 10 at each meeting, and I watch me do what you asked. I speak to the unspeakable. I penetrate the veneer. I say the thing that no one says. I push them off into a ledge because they can't wait. They wouldn't go that far to see me if they didn't want to change. And I watch their wings come back out, and they stand a little taller, and they're back inside their soul. And so the answer to the question is, how do you stay on that side? It's not that you get rid of the drama and the trauma and the storyline, because it doesn't go away. I mean, there's 8.5 billion people. And every one of them has a story, and the variable is, and you're such a good example at the sweet age of 27. Is that how old you are?
Yeah.
What a good memory. Because I'm 1,000 years old, so I shouldn't remember that. And at this young age, and then even whoever's listening, are you doing I promise you, Emilio, it has a practice. There's no way he could hold the energy in this room without having a practice. So the answer to your question is, if you want to stay on the side where you ride the waves, you practice surfing, and you're going to fall off you're going to fall off the board. And if you can fall off, and this is really what I wanted to talk about today, because I've been touching my vulnerability and how embarrassing it is, you have to be willing to say, I'm scared, I'm lonely, I don't feel motivated, I pretend, I try too hard, I have secrets, I have an addiction, I don't tell anyone. Those vulnerable, crunchy pieces, this is that first book. The second book, I Don't Believe in Astrology, is the gremlins have got to be updated. And then the way to get to the side of the water where you can ride the waves and really stay on top of it is practice falling off and getting back up without judging yourself. So it becomes an act of kindness. I practice kindness. That's what Dalai Lama said. His main religion was kindness. And what does that mean? It means every time you have one of those gremlins come and nibble on you, we really have, it's our 8th house, where the negative unconscious material, it's not even your thoughts. There's sometimes where thoughts come into the unconscious that are what Jung called the collective unconscious. And they surface through your dreams. They scare you, and there's nightmares, and you're being robbed, and you're running, and you can't move. And all of that is the shadow of the unconscious. That, by the way, is universal. He called it the collective unconscious. If I can stay awake inside the dream, recognize my gremlins, be willing to say them out loud. I mean, I do therapy regularly because I can't afford to. I'm so full of shit. I have such a great little personality. Look how cute I am. I can make things happen. You wouldn't believe it. I have people that want to talk to me. But that's not the inner world where my gremlins live. I hide them from you. So what if we made friends with gremlins? Do you know what my new fantasy is? In this new heaven and the new earth and the new thing happens, when we walk up to each other, instead of saying, hi, how are you? I don't even know what that means because no one ever tells the truth. We put our foreheads together, take a minute, take a breath, and we back it up and we go, oh, I felt you. And there's no pretense. So every encounter, like you and I love, hello, Emilio, 8th house, we love this about our sensibility. Let's go deep. Let's go real. Let's not talk too many words. Can I touch you? Can I feel you? Can I be seen by you? Who can I hold hands with? Who can I cry next to? Listen, while AI takes over and the world goes crazy and you're going to feel like you're at the edge of this reality, which is what all the astrologers say, what they're not saying is, how do I regulate on a daily basis so I'm in preparation so that I can admit that I'm scared, I'm lonely, I have habits, I have addictions, I have unconscious motivations. I'm really seeing all this in my own psyche because I'm entering into a new dynamic with a friend, and he's a Scorpio. So I'm having to look closer than ever at my silly, quirky pretenses when no one's looking. I don't tell him at all, but I'm noticing a lot in my own unconscious. And that's what I think is going to be the variable about riding the wave, because I'm so comfortable falling off the board and I'm so good at staying honest. It keeps me, I look like a really good surf girl, even though I've never surfed in my whole life.
I love how real we're going with this today. And I also know that you have a master's degree in clinical psychology, which is why we can speak to this collective unconscious of humanity. And also at the same time, 45 plus years of being a studied adept and teacher, master teacher of astrology. I also know you've been tracking the stars for this year. And, you know, within a few days of releasing this, April 25th, for the first time in 70 years, Uranus enters Gemini, and it stays there for 7 years. Do you feel this change in the stars is also influencing how it shifts our psyche at the same time? And where do you see that going?
Yes. So that question is very heady, and I can match you. I'm going to make sure that I imply that I really put it into my own heart so I stay vulnerable. I don't want to, because I can talk astrology, as you know, in a sophisticated way, but I'll give you some hard data. In 1780, Uranus was in Gemini. That's the first time we ever saw it. We had a telescope for the first time. And with the introduction of Uranus, right at that moment, that's when electricity was first found. I want you to consider, electricity enters the picture. No one really knows its implications. Obviously, at this moment, you look around every single thing you're doing, including your headset, the phone, the microphone in front of you, the computer in front of you, the lights that are behind you, the temperature that's in the room. Electricity's taken over our universe. But we had no idea at that moment. It was just the indicator based on Uranus entering Gemini, 1780. Fast forward, guess where Uranus is going to be when it enters next month? In Gemini. And what enters when Uranus enters Gemini? The first time it was electricity. This time it's called AI. It entered in November 19th, 2024. Pluto entered Aquarius for the first time in 250 years. So that was a marker where we all went, all the astrologers were like, whoa, and it introduced astrology. Have you all noticed all over the internet, there's astrologers? It kind of bugs me. There's astrologers everywhere. They talk about it. They're entertaining. I do watch them all. It's what bugs me is I don't know why it bugs me. Maybe it's a little jealousy that there's so much good material out there. Maybe it's a little judgment that there's so many astrologers talking jargon. I want to say to them, tell me about your mother. Like, do you really make love? Are you having fun here? But I can't, that's interruptive, and that's very Sagittarius. And see what I mean? I get in trouble. So I do my best to not judge. I want to say that as Uranus enters Gemini this time, and AI comes into our world, and we see the entrance in 2024 of Pluto entering Aquarius, it's going to trine Uranus. What does that mean? It's a very positive influence that Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, exactly 120 degrees apart for the rest of this year. That's a positive indicator that the modern entrance into a new vibrational conversation brought to you by Uranus, electricity, new, just like electricity, only it's AI, new communication devices that allow speed and efficiency to step over the limitations of our mind, which are clunky. I have a clunky mind. Raise your hand. I mean, it's like, really? I read and I don't retain. I notice I read less now and I scroll. My mind is getting limp. I can't remember phone numbers. I used to have a photographic memory. It's like, what? I mean, what do I need it for? So the mind is changing shape in front of our eyes. There is the introduction of Pluto and Uranus. Anyone that knows astrology knows that that's really exciting. Uranus and Gemini both dancing. And it suggests a new world. In the meantime, now I'm going to bring the emotional content in. I'm old-fashioned. I don't even use AI. Everybody in my company does. I have 50 women. I run a company where I teach astrology, and I have people from all over the world. They're all doing magic. I'm like sitting in the room just watching. I don't want to touch that thing. So I am stuck. I can say that I'm a dinosaur. I'm stuck in time. I don't want to move fast because I'm almost 70 and I have a memory of walking slowly, and we didn't have these things. And that. I do love it, and I am, thank goodness, modern enough to be here with you and be interesting. So I didn't keep the grumpy dinosaur going, grumpy. No, she's absolutely interested, sticking her neck out, looking into the future, which I do regularly, studying AI. There's a great documentary. I hope you all see it. Have you seen it yet?
Which
AI
one?
Doc, it's called. It's the new documentary. No. Just OMG. The man that wrote it, directed it, did the art direction, he interviewed the #1 minds from Minton, from the guy that started AI, to, you're going to name all those famous people that I can't remember their names because I am 75 years old.
The clunky mind.
Right. All the biggest names that you can think of, including that guy from Israel who I love, who wrote, his last name is Yuval, Yuvah.
Yuval Noah Harari.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, all the greatest minds in the whole world. Altman. Like, I can just drop the names and you'll all know them if only my mind would work. All of those came together, and the man that was doing the actual film was just like what I'm asking you to do. He was emotional. And he was like, uh-oh, I'm thinking of having a baby. What do you guys think? And then the conversation blew up. Because this is the human dimension matching the AI. This is, right now, a podcast including the human. I don't want to talk till my head falls off. I want my heart to stay open as I make this marriage, because AI is coming to get me. And you, and all of us. But I don't want to leave behind the earth, the body, the heart, the fingers, the fingertips, the sensitivity, the sensuality, the smells. Don't take it away from me, said the dinosaur who loves to eat the grass and smell the sun shining on its face and feel the wind. And please keep these two worlds intact. So all that is to say, that film and this moment in time with Uranus positively being supported by Pluto, there is a possibility, this is what all the astrologers are saying, that the marriage of AI and the human is done in the name of compassion and intelligence and emotional wisdom and some mindfulness, and the soul is not left out. Should we do a prayer? May we all be willing to consider a future that doesn't resemble the one we live in. May we all enter into a world where there's kindness as the mainstream absolute given upon every encounter. May we remember that there's only one of us here. I am you and you are me. It's not a theory. And may I come into my world to open my heart and mind to the truth that love and kindness is what this experiment was meant to cultivate. Let it be. And it is, I hope.
Hello, beautiful family. Quick one today. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that have subscribed to this channel. Your subscription means more than you know. Even though it's free, what you're doing is you're empowering a whole channel to be able to do this every single day and continue showing up in the way that we can with all of our resources on hand. Thank you for contributing to the growth of this channel, for sharing it with the people that you love, for creating a conscious movement of individuals that are seeking the sovereignty and the divinity of their soul. This is why we're here. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying this content, I invite you now to look below on that little button that says subscribe and welcome you properly to this community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are and being pure love and radiating that with everyone that you see. Back to the episode. So it is. I was also mentioning to you how this episode is going to be coming out on the eve of Earth Day. And from the moment I saw you speak in Malibu at Blue's event back in 2023, whenever that was, you spoke a lot about honoring the earth. And right now, as you just mentioned, going back and returning to our connection with her, what do you feel she is asking of us right now?
Makes me want to cry. The return to the sacred always includes the feminine because of her gift of creation. That she's willing to endure pain in the name of birth and do it again and again and again because she knows the end is love. And through the door of pain on earth, you go straight to love. That's what happens when you have a baby. That's what happens when you fall in love. That's what happens when you break open your heart after you fall in love and you break. It goes back to love. It always goes back to love. So the mother right now, patient as she is, as we abuse the host, as we neglect the remembrance of praying over our food, as we forget the sacred. I don't know, something goofy. I don't know. I'm guilty. I grew up in an era where everything was fast and speedy and efficient and financially rewarding and so ego-serving, and it was a completely unconscious motive that was put in place by I don't know who. Well, the good news is we're waking up. Your generation saying, what? Wait, what? This is the Aquarian age. We're looking into a new version of reality that doesn't resemble the Piscean age, which was follow the leader, be inside of a church and never argue, marry who they pick for you and never argue, subdue the feminine and tell her she's under the effect of all men. This was the Piscean age. Follow the leader in the name of the Christ, the Buddha, and don't argue. Take every word of the Bible and pretend it's the truth and don't think for yourself. Well, that's over. Ding, ding, ding. And now we're in the Aquarian age, and this is the moment in time where I have to be very careful as a dinosaur how I look to the future without being nostalgic, without being afraid, without being lazy. You guys, we really need you. This is the week. This Earth week, and certainly during Aries, we just left behind the 6 planets in Aries everybody talks about. What it is it's activating a healthy male. The male on this planet has been disrespected as the female once was, and it's just like we don't like the men, and nor should we. In the old boys club, they represented the oppression of feminine, and that really was true, that the patriarchy was out to get us. Well, it's not true anymore. The feminine's standing up, but she has to redesign the male. And the men have to stand up in a whole new version. And it all comes back to the mother, to the mom of 2 boys. How do I set free this male, this new structure, it's like it's never been before that the male and the female, it's why it's so loose right now. I love it. I love the them here. I can't do it because I'm a dinosaur, but the them and the they and the hers and I don't even know. I love it because it's challenged our thought process. And this is what the new era will be, that the male side in all of us, because I've got a strong male, you probably can't tell by looking, that I am very clear with my boundaries, my values of kindness. Nothing steps over it. I will not tolerate gossip in my company. I will not tolerate people being competitive. You know, that's the essence of my male side, is fighting for my feminine principles, which is, you guys, just try it for a week. Be really kind. Let the feminine part of you, the mother in you, the soft part of you, be valued enough that you would put that in the front of your existence this week? The way you eat. I mean, I hate saying this here. You asked for it, but I can't say because I got Saturn and Sag. I haven't been able to eat meat since I was 7 years old. I didn't know why. I can't. I'm like, I don't understand. Help me. I'm not even an animal person. It's just that I couldn't understand it. It was a kind. Now, I eat fish. It's kind of unkind. And from time to time, I'll have some chicken, which feels unkind. I do make it a practice every day of my life to be kind. It's my religion, me and Dalai Lama. He's a double Cancer. His whole purpose this life was to be soft. Dark. I got divergent. Where did I go? To the left, to the right? I'm back here in my heart, honoring Earth Day and saying to the women and all of us, it's the feminine principle who says, are you okay? Can I hold your hand? Can I give you a hug? Do you need to cry? I'm here for you. I don't want to fix it. Not taking it away from you. I'm wise enough to know, said the therapist of almost 50 years, let the pain be accepted. This is the feminine principle. She knows how to cry, and she bleeds every month. That's what the female does. Now, if we could rearrange in the Aquarian age that it wasn't even male or female, because there's some men I know who are more female and some women I know that are more male. I don't know that it's gender. It's simply a dualistic world we live in. And someone asked me the other day, would you come back as a man or a woman? I was like, what? Absolutely a woman. Are you, like, I can't even, it doesn't even, and I thought about it today. I was like, that wasn't very nice. So back to Earth Day and my deep devotion, and you're so perceptive. I spend every day off I have, every moment off in Hawaii barefoot, either on a bike, in the ocean, or hiking. And I kiss her, and I want no one around me when I'm doing it. I tell everyone to leave me alone. I go hiking and I say, I'll be back here. I make love to the earth in honor of my dinosaur background, who spent their entire time with their feet on the ground. Now, is there a new world showing up? Is the Aquarian age here? Are we going to do technology? Are we leaving our bodies? Are we learning about remote viewing? Are we starting to do telepathy? Are we starting to look beyond this world? I'm all in. I just don't want to lose the smells and the kisses and the skin to skin. I don't want to lose it. Mm-hmm. So promise me, you guys listening, that essential oils, incense, flowers, slowing down enough to smell the coffee and to feel the hot water in the shower. Put your hand on that pillow and just I love down pillows. I'm a pillow expert. Blankies, your clothes. The angels are jealous. They wanted to come and be in a body, but there was 8.5 billion spots and they were all taken. That was a joke. Look at my crystal. It's so pretty.
My moon in Taurus is nodding my head right now. It also seems like for some reason Uranus has been a main character in this conversation. And I did some research, and what I found was that Uranus is returning to the United States natal position for the first time since the Revolutionary War.
Because it was
the Civil War.
76 when Uranus was in when the America started, and that's when we found it. It was in Gemini. You're echoing. Yes, keep going.
Yeah. The Civil War and World War II. And so what I found, and the number that was given here, was every 84 years it comes back, and the country, the whole of U.S. almost cracks open. What is Uranus demanding to America right now, and in essence for the whole world as well? Because if it's returning to its natal position, what is the significance of that astrologically?
Great question. And I want just to back up for 1 second. Pluto's return happened 2 years ago in America. Pluto takes 248 years. And when Pluto returned, which only America can say it's happened to, that I know of a friend, so to speak, to speak to it. Look what happened. That is right when America's blowing up. And whenever an outer planet returns to itself, which is very unusual, 240 years, 82 years, this has to do with zeitgeist shifts. And Uranus is my favorite planet. I had a very old astrologer tell me once that I was on the board of directors at Uranus. It was like the most ridiculous sentence, except that I do kind of think I have a very strong position in my chart that yells what my gift is to stay in the internet. Like you guys have probably watched my videos where on YouTube I did these funny little acting out videos. There's 8 million views. Well, that's because it sounds funny, my Uranus is in the house of my career in Leo. And so I used astrology with all those little acting sites. If you go onto YouTube and put Debra Silverman Cancer, a little 5-minute video comes up and I act out the signs. And it was so impactful. That's Uranian. In my situation, it's been a big friend of mine. And now you're asking in the zeitgeist as we return to this 82-year cycle, what would it be? What does it look like?
Yeah. And for the U.S. in specific, if it's returning to its natal position.
That's right. Exactly right. And it will be in Gemini. It is the introduction of brand new thought. It's in Gemini. Gemini rules the mind. Uranus is the planet that represents electricity. It was found during the time of electricity. It represents radical departure. It's when in Europe, all those people in England went on a boat to America. And when they got to America and the Queen said, now you got to pay taxes for all that tea you took, they said, fuck you. And they threw the tea off the thing and said, no, we're not listening to a thing you said. That's Uranus. They came to America and said, we are not doing, it's a radical departure from what was said before. Now, how many TikTok, Instagram videos are you watching where everybody goes, don't follow the rules, don't follow. We're having this unison song being sung from everywhere you turn at every age where it's like, wait, why do I work all the time? And what do I have to have children? And why do we have to get married? And what about if we got married and we had 2 other partners? All this unbelievable non-tradition is coming not just in America, it's in the world, but specifically in America, our code of conducts, our due process, our definition of democracy, the definition of a dictator, a king, everything's up for grabs. That's what it was like when we left England coming to America and threw away the tea. It's a radical... Now, if you're like me, a little old-fashioned person, I mean, it's not true, but like a dinosaur image, just used as your grandma, your grandpa, some of your friends who are really stuck in time and they're still playing the old game and they can't move, you're going to resist. You're going to be upset that you want to maintain the old system and you want to pretend it still exists. Remember we talked about the 2 different teams? So there's the ones riding the waves and there's the other ones that are standing on the sideline going, this is terrible. Bring back America. Really? Pluto just came to destroy it. Pluto literally was in Capricorn during COVID, and we had Pluto return. And then Pluto, as I mentioned, entered Aquarius in 2024 and said, we are now done, America, with your old system. Now that shows up in so many multiple ways. So I'm asking you, the listener right now, ask yourself, how comfortable am I assuming the position of radical change without being resistant or critical or judgy? Like, how capable, I have to ask myself this regularly, am I okay with how much is changing? And what do I need to do, said the little earth mama over here, the little hippie chick. That's what I was when I was a young hippie chick, wearing earth shoes, and smoking pot behind the store because we're scared everybody would catch us. But like, it was the olden days. It's so cute. This earth chick needs to have earth to make me comfortable. You, Mr. Water, you need sacred ceremonies. Some of you need medicine. You need to do that medicine, all that sacred medicine, because it gives you a remembrance of your time when you were in the sacred circle, when you were living inside tribes, when you had the comfort. Some of you need to exercise and do yoga till your heads fall off. That's where you find the memory of that past life where you were so dedicated to your body. Some of you are meditators. Some of you are doing Qigong and Tai Chi. Some are doing Reiki. Some are doing the Ruin Stone. Some of them are doing, what's that lovely Gene Keys. Some of you are doing the Enneagram. All these ancient memories are coming through systems to give us comfort that the continuation of the sacred ones from the olden days, which I am one of, will continue through this transition when Uranus changes not just America, but every part of our existence, just like electricity. It scares me to think about. I mean, I don't know if scared's the right word. It puzzles me to think about what my grandchildren's children, what their world will look like and what they'll say about their grandmother or great-grandmother. She was this astrologer or something, and she talked on podcasts, and I think there's some records of them. If you call AI, you could probably pull up a conversation with her and Emilio. She talked about him.
What would you want them to say about you?
I don't want them to talk about me. I don't want to be remembered as Debra Silverman. I want them to say their mother, my daughter, really let them be who they were. I want the legacy for me, not as Debra Silverman, but if I had an effect as a fairy godmother or a grandmother or a teacher, as you say, it would be that I let everybody just be themselves. I taught astrology so that you could distinguish your unique character without any judgments, without being self-conscious, by reframing the things you don't like about you. You knew how to get rid of the gremlins. If I can leave this lifetime with a legacy that I've taught enough people in my school and in my programs, that they came back to themselves, that would be, it won't be specific to Debra Silverman. It'll be all the people I taught who are teaching. I have 22 certified astrologers that I've taught, that if you wanted a reading and you wanted someone serious that could look at your karma, not just talk about the tall, dark, handsome man that you haven't met. If you wanted a real reading, I can look at your chart and then look at their chart. And I play this game called Matchmaker, Matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, catch me a catch. I look at your chart, their chart, and I put you together. And then you get a reading with someone that I can promise you will have the same conversation of how do we fulfill you remembering what you came here to do so that you can make sure you're riding those waves without feeling like a victim.
If someone wanted to understand their uniqueness on a very deep level through astrology, where would you guide them to start there with that?
There's two conversations. If it was astrology, if they were really like beginners or they were even advanced, but they didn't know how to know where to look in the chart for those specific clues that are deep, I'd say, go get my book, I Don't Believe in Astrology. And the second half of the book will be about where your Saturn is and where the sun of your house is in and how to really unpack it. If you weren't doing astrology and you didn't want all that technical language, but you were interested in this conversation, you'd get my first book called The Missing Element, where if you get it from my website, I send you the chart, but it's less about the chart and it's more about your funny personality type. That's what I do with my 4E. I'm always assisting people either in a sophisticated astrology language, which you named from my book, I would suggest that, or in other books. I'm not the only teacher, for God's sake. There's a bunch of them out there. Or just go learn the elements. Just start with our last podcast. We did such a long talk about the 4 elements and how profound they are in understanding where you're quirky and how to take your idiosyncratic personality and fall in love with it, because it's not going away.
One of the words that you actually taught me that I didn't know before was the word auspicious. And you're saying that we're in auspicious times. When you look at the broader view of what that means and how you've understood it now, what does it mean to say that we're in auspicious times?
I hope that all of you that have listened to some astrologer tell you that every outer planet in July, starting with Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, all of them, which we've looked in the backdrops, the archives of astrology to see when this has happened before, because astrology is so easily detected by using pure math, like where was the planets? And never before in history can we find where all the outer planets changed in 1 year. So there's something to be said about auspicious times. You know, there's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. It's a Chinese curse. We're living in interesting times where all these planets are shifting, which simply means tradition, familiarity, comfort, predictability are all out of the window. We can't, I don't know what's coming. I can tell you, I'm proud of us that we're going to stop disregarding mom. And we're going to start remembering how important it is to keep our feet in the sand and our hands in the water and touch the skin on our baby's face. Like, may we always continue to hold that lovely, lovely, unbelievable, sensual pleasure of being human at the front of our foreconsciousness, because as these changes happen, AI can't kiss, AI can't meditate, AI can't give you comfort when it comes to touching you. Ha.
You know, I've heard you also say that astrology is the medicine for the soul. And, you know, for someone right now that is genuinely feeling that they're in a very auspicious time in their life, the world is feeling too much, how could this wisdom of astrology, everything that we're bringing through today, really offer them? Or where do you see this work actually applying into the individual?
I think there's two topics once again. One is there's therapy required. You guys, the reason why people have pain that are my age, why they have all these surgeries and they have all these symptoms and they have the way they look, you can tell how tired they are, is because they didn't process their emotional body and it gets stuck in the body. So if you don't know how to cry or get angry or go find a therapist who can really unpack for you and really hear you, and then a spiritual therapist, not just a regular therapist, who can then take you to your higher self, who says, is that what I needed to learn? That's what I had to go through in my childhood to get to this? So if there's not that level of consciousness, just from a pure psychological point of view, that's laced with spirituality that says to you, everything you've gone through is for a reason. None of it was by mistake. That stupid ex-husband, that second ex-husband, that teacher that was so mean to you when you were little, that sister who's never ever seen you, the sadness that happened with your parent that was so alcoholic and abusive, all of that was written. And when you finish here and you go home, which is like my fantasy, when I can't wait to get home and get to the front office and just say, excuse me, it's Debra. When you finish here and you get home and you go to that office, they're going to say, can we explain to you? And you're going to go, oh my God, it makes so much sense why I had to have that mom and that stupid man and that third marriage. I can't believe I wanted to blame them. That was all done for my evolution. Oh my goodness. And you're either going to have to do the whole thing again because you were so judgmental and so resistant and you never fell in love with your fate. Or if you really wake up inside the dream, you get to go to the next station. Now, I'm making all this up. And you're believing me because I've got so much conviction, because you know what? I've seen parts of this. You know that. I've gone out to the other side, and I can promise you, I have as much as I am resistant as a dinosaur to old ways of being earthbound, I have a very, very comfortable, this is an off-the-wall story. I recently did some medicine. I don't really like doing medicine because I'm already high, so it's a problem. Like, I have to keep myself here, so it's not good for me. But I just did it for an experiment, and as soon as it was coming on, the first thing I said was, oh, I know this place. And I realized that's where I live. I live in that other space. So that part I don't have a problem with. I just want the marriage. I think I came to Earth to be in the liminal state where I could play in the realms of telepathy and intuition and tarot cards and astrology and past lives and auspicious times, but stay inside a body at the very same time.
I love that. Have you ever, just out of curiosity, have you ever received any felt sense or visions of what that home is that we go back to?
I don't think my mind is going to be able to find words and be authentic enough to paint it for you. I can tell you by feeling that in my best meditations, in the place of the dark where I don't have a mind, I can feel it feels so liberating. It's so light. It tickles me. It makes me tingle. But I'm not sure I could give you any visuals or even concepts. I can just tell you the sensation that I have. It's what happens when you make love and you're done and you're like, oh. that sounds so good. That kind of quality of very, or that's just one example. It's also what it feels like when you're holding a baby. It's also what it feels like when you're just falling in love. It's also what it feels like when the snow just landed and you're like, there's nothing on the ground but the snow. You know, those very, but that's not what to answer. No, I didn't answer your question. I just reminded you that there is this glimpse I know of that is a very non-physical, transcendent state that every good meditation I have, which only happens so often, I don't want to come back.
And it's that realization you were speaking into of all of this is already written. Do you see that as well through the lens of astrology when events and unfoldings have been written?
I do. You know, I have a problem, which probably many of you can relate to, and this is part of being an elder. I really do know spiritually we're all good to go and everything will be fine. I promise you there's a happy ending to the story, and that is the evolution of the Kali Yuga, and we do come into a heightened state eventually. I do comfortably feel that. At the same time, the wrestling with this experiment, the confusion of my human psyche is hard to sustain. Like yes, astrology tells you everything. You can look at someone's chart, and like you and I can see we have chemistry as soon as I look at the chart. You're Sag rising, my Saturn's on your rising. You're Cancer, my Mars is on. I can look at a chart immediately and say to you, these two people have so much chi. We felt that from the minute we met. And then I can also look at someone's chart and go, uh-oh, that's got a lot of karma. That's not going to be easy. That person's cut off. That person's too emotional. So yes, and having said all of that, I'm as human as you are. I just do silly things. I told you I'm dating at the moment, and I'm having this experiment, this experience. Experiment. I don't know what to
experiment.
That's the right way to say it.
That's also a word to describe it.
That wasn't the right way to say it. To see if I can stay awake when my human nature gets revealed or when his gets revealed. Can I return to kindness? Can I not take it personally? When he tells a Gemini, you're talking too much. Now, he didn't say that. He did not say that. But when someone gives you feedback about a personality trait you have that you can't fix, and you wish that they did say that because you really don't like it about yourself either, but what are you going to do? It just keeps happening. Then that's where the trigger happens and the reactivity happens. And that was not a good example because it wasn't true. And there are others I won't tell you where my emotional body gets triggered and then I have to come back. So the spiritual human, the AI human, the male and the female, the sun and the moon, the believer and the non-believer, the guy that knows how to surf so well and the one that's sitting on the beach. It's the extreme nature of this existence that duality rules supreme, period, full stop. We're in a dualistic reality, and I can't pretend for 1 minute. I have glimpses of the other place and feel like the Cheshire cat that ate the mouse. I don't know. There's a funny cartoon where there's a cat that gets in trouble because they're so happy. Like they're like, there's some part of me that does have glimpses where I feel like, oh my goodness, I feel so happy today. And then all of a sudden, as we started, my heart gets tugged. I'm reading the news. I'm hearing a story about my friend who has cancer. And I live in both worlds with delicacy because I'm very sensitive to the fact that I care so much. I care so much about you. I care so much about the listeners, and I care the most about my mom, the earth. And I can't admit that I don't worry about her. Is she going to survive? Now, the earth will survive, but what does she have to go through before we realize how heavy-handed we are? Before we forget the mother and the earth day and how to pray over our food and to be soft with each other and eat healthy. And anyway, it's going to come soon to your neighborhood. I'm here to tell you good news. It's going to come soon to your neighborhood that we will be in a new world, just like electricity will arrive and you won't resemble anything that came before when it was caveman. You won't even remember it. That will happen. And I feel confident that I can say to all our listeners that while you may not know you're scared, you may unconsciously be walking right over it. You may be numb. You may be using all kinds of distractions, and you're listening to this podcast. It's been an hour and you're like, what? Let's retain the prayer. Help me to stay awake inside the stream so I can facilitate the movement of the planet as we auspiciously move into a new era, and let me know my role, because I learned how to listen. And I prayed. And I did seek out astrologers and seers. And I did what it took to wake up. And I can only tell you from my own experience that no one ever tells us this. It's so great getting older. It's so great. You wouldn't believe it. You don't care anymore. Who gives a shit? Like, you don't like me? I don't look good? My hair is not... I don't have enough friends? You think I should be... I want to swear, but just F off. I'm not interested anymore. And that is the power of aging.
I did want to speak into that as well, because, there's this mindset that once you reach a certain age, there's a window that has passed. But you're actually a living example of the opposite of that. At 60 years old, you started your astrology school with over 8,000 students at this point, 10,000 students at this point. And also you were mentioning like getting into and exploring that new relationship, on the cusp of 70. Like, what would you like to say to someone who feels any sort of limitation around age, or that the window has passed, or the time has passed, or they missed their moment? What would you want them to know from inside of where you've been and how you've approached that?
First, it makes me want to cry again. I want to say, any of you who think you're old, you're wrong. So I'm sick of hearing 40-year-olds go, yeah, I'm 40. Like, are you kidding? If you're 50, you got a whole nother movie to run. So can we just start by saying, be kind and change your mind about time making you older, and then therefore getting crispy critter and missing the boat, not fulfilling your dreams? That is not true. You're so right. At 60 years old, my dream came true. So that's the first. It makes me sad because I went to my 50th high school reunion and I looked around and I saw the bodies, how much inflammation happens, how much chronic pain happens, how people's stomachs go, what happens to their digestion because they don't do cleanses and they don't keep their system clean. One of the people that was there who I loved, Susie Shammy, I hadn't seen her since we were probably 16, died like a month later. And I just thought to myself, I wished I could have said to all of them, to answer your question, why don't we think about the food we eat? Like real food, like vegetables and salads and fruits, and not always having to have so much protein. I don't know who made that thing up. I don't know, but everyone agrees you have to have so much protein. And yes, you should drink wine, and yes, you should have a cigarette from time to time, and yes, you should be able to indulge in everything with the word moderation. Everything here should be indulged in, I think. Yum, yum. So as an elder, if I could have said to people, I somehow, you know what happened, Emilio? It's so crazy. At a very young age, I found the word moderation. And I've been using it ever since. But I know it's not popular. It's back to your point. Like, it's hard to look like young and exercise every day and be so no pain. I have no pain in my body. I hate to say it. I feel guilty. But it's because you bet I do stem cells. You bet that I'm interested in peptides. You bet I'm biohacking. I drink, what's it called? I don't even know, special water that has no something weird in it. I do a lot of things, and hydrogen, and I don't tell everyone. And why do I do it, you guys? Because I wanted to get old and be available to you. I wanted to be an example that said, makes me want to cry. Like, please don't get caught by the group think. Think for yourselves. Let Uranus have her way with you. Don't follow. Pay attention to how it feels in your body. And when you get hurt, say, ow. God, you got me going. Seem to have that way.
We talked about vulnerability, and you're being the example of that today. You know, your first book, Missing Element, we've talked about it many times before in our past conversations, but I did want to get the opportunity to ask you if right now you're seeing that there is a missing element for humanity as a whole. If you look at the collective, is there an element there we're missing, and how can we start incorporating that back into our lives and in our practices?
The subtitle of that book, Missing Element, Inspiring Compassion for the Human Condition. That's what's missing. You know, my book I wanted to write, but no one would let me, was called You're Fucked Up and I Still Like You. That's what I wanted to call the book, because I don't know why we're not allowed to admit that everyone has a personality trait that isn't really working well. And it's compulsive. And it's pushing you away from people. I'm learning this so much with this man I'm dating. I'm having so much fun watching my personality. It's really fun. Because we end up, what I love about this dynamic, whatever it is that we go into the balcony together, into the observer, after we had a little bump, or it got all, we talked over each other, all that stuff we do. And then we sit in the balcony and we review it from a place of emotional capacity. Like, sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's so amazing, because I'm finally doing it in live time with someone that can match it, because I do it to myself when I'm alone. When I make a mistake, I apologize. I'm gentle. I do silly things. I'm not going to tell you because we're going on too long. Okay, go.
With that said, we're approaching the final segment of our conversation, the final trio, which are some questions that I like to ask at the very end. Before we get into that, Debra, where would you send people to connect with you, with your work, with your school, everything that's going on in your universe right now?
Well, the school only opens twice a year. So it's in September and in January. So there is a wait list, and we only take so many students, and it starts off with level 1, and you don't know anything about astrology, or you do, but you really want to learn. It's called applied astrology. So it's not theory. It's actually applying it to you. The whole first class is about you. And then the second class is the nuts and bolts, like how do you do a reading and what does transits mean? And then the third class is you actually do a reading in person and we watch you. And it's very impactful. So that's the school, and it happens twice a year. Then I mentioned 4E. It happens in person. You can work with me in person. It's not often, but I do make it available in Boulder, Colorado, and in Hawaii. It's called 4E, and you just write to silvermansupport@gmail.com. And the other thing, this summer, I'm doing a class for non-astrology students and astrology students alike that is about, it's called something like, what the fuck are we supposed to be doing? Medicine of astrology, like dealing with exactly what we've addressed today. The Uranus, the Pluto, the Neptune, the Saturn, the Jupiter, like we're going to go and describe it astrologically and then apply it really quickly. So there's that. And then my book comes out again in the fall in a soft cover, and I will be live. I will go to some cities and do some live presentations, and that will be coming forward. And other than that, I'm on my bike and I'm swimming, and, I'm going to Moab tomorrow and swimming, biking in the mountains. You're so right. You're so perceptive. I spend a lot of time outside. Like my doctor did my test, and I had the highest vitamin D count he'd ever seen. And he asked me what I was taking, and I'm not taking anything. But I'm outside every single day. I sleep outside in Hawaii. I'm obsessed with the fresh air.
It's going back to the land. And also, I wanted to mention you got my hopes up because I thought you were going to be in Portugal for the FiVth event in Portugal that is being hosted by Robert Edward Grant. And so I know you're going to be speaking there virtually. There's a virtual pass, so I'll be there in person. That's why I thought you were going to be there. You got my hopes up, and then
I know. And I'm so glad
I'll see you on the screen again.
That Robert and his beautiful partner, that we had dinner in Hawaii and reconnected again. We really had a great time.
Beautiful. So for the final trio, the first question I have for you today as we end is, I know you mentioned how water was one of those missing elements for you, and that you've talked about the importance of stillness and going back to that and cultivating that. So the question is, what's the most important message you've ever heard when you truly entered stillness?
It's so funny when you talk, my body responds. That's chemistry. Like I can feel when how authentic you are. It registers in my cancer. I tattooed it on my arm. I have the word listen and silent tattooed on my arm. That the biggest message I heard was to be quiet enough, silent, to be able to listen so I could hear spirit. So I think the most important thing in the whole world is to get to the observer where I'm silent enough that I can hear the directives, the messages. It's the high priestess. It's being able to sit still and make it a practice. I said that to you before. I'm not a natural meditator because I wiggle too much. I rock too much. My energy is very high because I'm fire. And yet I've made a practice of sitting and listening. And it can be short, you guys, and I've really learned. The telepathy tapes really helped. I hope, did you get to listen to them?
I did.
Really helped me. Just knowing that this other world existed beyond my imagination, that she validated the reality of the hill and what these autistic children did, especially at the end of the series, that really supported my understanding of listening. Like, they don't talk. And they still communicate with a different level of consciousness. And I think that's the highest road to be able to bridge the world where we want to go into a kind world, into another realm where the feminine, the mother's honored. It really requires a profound capacity to not just value the mind. Like, I know you did a 3-hour podcast with Robert. Like, I'm like, what did they talk about? How?
Four.
Okay. And somebody listened to it. And yeah. I mean, it's like reading a book, basically. Yeah, I'm a Gemini. And my attention span, well, you've sustained it because you touch me. So your words have more weight than just thoughts. They've touched my heart. And I pray that I've been, too, for this audience, that your heart got touched, that we're willing to say, I am scared and I do want to be loved and I do want to love, and please forgive me. And I'm going back to my observer and let me sit and listen so I can learn whatever I'm supposed to be learning. Would this be the best, this little class, this little, whatever we call this podcast, it's a word I didn't even know. Podcast became a modern word now. We all know what it means. But my grandmother didn't use the word podcast. And if this podcast is really value, put it in your body, please, like slow down and pray. And come sit with me in the witnessing position in the balcony and ask, how can I be of service? What can I do to facilitate my family's auspicious moment? How can I be of value to you as an elder, Emilio, so I can say, keep going, stand on my shoulders?
Next question I had for you is not really a question, but if you were to finish the following sentence, what the little girl in Detroit most needs to hear from the woman she became is?
I got you. Just letting her know that I do really take care of that part of me. You made me cry. And as a child in the 50s, when I was born, my mom was told to not nurse me. And she was told to not go in the room when I cried. So my emotional body was really injured. And now I say to her, I got you. I've done the therapy. I've done the inner child work. I've given you cuddles. I know how to feed you. I know how to give you the right cloak. Honey, you're good. I got you.
There's nothing more important to know that we hold aspects of ourselves from different periods of our life, and that's actually helping. If time isn't linear as we've thought it to be, like that little girl, that little boy, wherever you are right now, like if you're holding that aspect of you, it's actually happening in the field and it's changing something.
Can I add?
You mentioned,
Can I just,
yeah, for sure.
Don't underestimate your personal story. Don't think, oh, you just had a story, it wasn't that bad, and you minimize your pain. Your story was really hard. Every human came down here through the mother screaming. So please stop doing that. And then when you recognize that your purpose is to heal that in the name of your children, in the name of your family, in the name of this planet, you came down to eat poison. That was the agreement. And your job, once you finish, you'll be able to surf. You'll be able to ride the waves because you will not be prone to feeling like something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. You signed up for a crazy assignment.
You were mentioning in the conversation where, your grandchildren are going to be asking, Debra Silverman, who was she? What did she do? Was she an astrologer? What was she talking about? The reason I do this work, and a big reason of it, is about legacy. And I know that, over now 300 episodes, this is becoming a conglomeration of legacies of multiple incredible people I found in my path that are really helping humanity through this ascension process. So these conversations are time capsules for the future generations. And we're going to find a way to have it all in one place where people can access it like a library very soon. Not saying too much on that yet, but that is something that's in the works.
I told you my granddaughter's going to look up Emilio and Debra Silverman.
She'll find it. As an elder, speaking to someone in the youngest of generations today on this planet, what is one last message you would like to leave behind?
To stay close to your parents, to do what it takes to keep the family unit really authentic. Keep cleaning up the space. When you're young, you can say what you need to say. If it's required to have a therapist or an auntie or a grandma with you, keep the space clean, because family is going to be the sustainable, like the rest of the earth will survive, so will the practice of the love for the child. That comes with the territory. It's instinctual, and it's the most beautiful love affair that I have, that I can point to. Is someone asked me the other day, what was the happiest time of your life? And nursing was just the most. It was insanely beautiful to be at one with a being that doesn't require a mind. It's just the hearts are open and there's contact. Don't underestimate the meaning of your family. That's not to say you can't go pick a new family. It's not to say you can't, as an Aquarian age, you can't find who your people are, because it wasn't my earthbound family that gave me the feeling. It was the kids it was my next generation. So just know that you can do family. And those little people, if it isn't your family that you feel comfortable with, you'll find them. Do your prayers to ask for angels. If everyone in this room that listened activated their higher self, like did their meditation or did their practice or listened to a song or whatever it took to get there, and then did a prayer that said,
Right.
help me to be my authentic self. Help me to serve. Help me to fulfill my purpose. Show me how it is to ride the wave and to get up when I fall and release my pain so it doesn't stay in my body. It's a great prayer.
Debra Silverman. I love you so much, and I just wanted to honor you for going so deep with us today, and so raw, so real, so vulnerable. That is why these conversations are so explosive and magnetic, is because of the authenticity that comes through you, and I wanted to honor you and acknowledge you for that. I love getting the opportunity to weave together and learn infinitely from all of the wisdom that you hold. So I can't wait till we get the opportunity to actually meet in person soon. But it'll happen sooner rather than later. And I'm excited in the meantime to continue our conversations and collaborations in any way possible. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for putting me on Earth Day. I thought that was very
course.
wise and very astute.
Very. Yeah. Thank you.